Welcome starting soon. I was 16 when my parents decided I no longer belonged in their house. It happened on a quiet Thursday evening. My mother stood in the kitchen with her arms crossed, while my father leaned against the counter, staring at me like I had destroyed something important. "You've embarrassed this family enough," my father said. His voice wasn't loud. It was worse than that. It was cold. I stood there in my school uniform, still holding my backpack. I was in 10th grade, and yes, I was pregnant, but the way they looked at me, you would think I had committed some unforgivable crime. My mother didn't ask if I was scared. She didn't ask if I needed help. Instead, she pointed toward the front door. "You made this mistake," she said sharply. "Now you deal with it somewhere else." For a moment, the room went completely silent. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, counting seconds that suddenly felt heavier than ever. "You're kicking me out?" I asked quietly. My father didn't hesitate. "You stopped being our responsibility the moment you made that decision." Something strange happened inside me then. I expected to cry. I expected to beg. But instead, everything became calm. In that moment, I realized something painful but clear. Some parents care more about their reputation than their own child. My mother opened the front door. Cold air rushed into the hallway. "Don't come back," she said. I looked at both of them one last time. Not angry, not shouting, just seeing them for who they really were. Then I picked up my bag and walked out of the house. Behind me, the door shut with a quiet click. They believed they had removed the problem from their lives. They had no idea what they had just started. The first few months after that night were the hardest. I slept on a friend's couch for a while, trying not to feel like a burden. During the day, I went to school like nothing had happened. At night, I worked part-time at a small grocery store, saving every dollar I could. Most people probably looked at me and assumed my life was over. A pregnant teenager, kicked out of her own home. But something strange happens when you lose everything. You stop being afraid. I stopped thinking about what people expected from me. Instead, I focused on surviving one day at a time. Finish school, save money, keep moving forward. Weeks turned into months. Then something unexpected happened. 2 months after my parents threw me out, I lost the baby. The doctor told me quietly, like he was afraid the words might break me. For a long time, I just sat there in silence. I didn't know whether to feel relief or grief. Maybe it was both. But one thing became very clear in that moment. The people who abandoned me would never understand what I had gone through. So I stopped thinking about them. Years passed. I finished high school, then started working full-time. Slowly, my life became stable. Nothing dramatic, just small steps forward. Meanwhile, the people who once called themselves my parents began hearing rumors about me through old neighbors and distant relatives. They heard that I had moved away. They heard that I had built a decent life. And most importantly, they heard that I had raised a child. The story spread quietly, changing a little each time someone repeated it. Eventually, the rumor reached them. 8 years after they slammed the door in my face, my phone lit up with a message from a number I hadn't seen in a long time. It was my mother. "We need to talk," the message said. Another one followed seconds later. "We want to meet our grandson." We met in a quiet cafe on a Sunday afternoon. I arrived a few minutes early and chose a table near the window. Outside, people walked past like it was any normal day. For them, it was. For me, it felt like the closing of a very long chapter. When my parents walked in, I barely recognized them. 8 years had changed them. My father's hair was almost completely gray now, and my mother looked smaller somehow, like the confidence she once carried had slowly faded. They spotted me and walked over cautiously. My mother tried to smile as she sat down. "Hi," she said softly. I nodded. No hugs. No warmth. Just silence. For a few seconds, none of us spoke. Then my father cleared his throat. "We heard about your son," he said carefully. There it was. The reason they suddenly remembered I existed. My mother leaned forward slightly, her eyes searching my face. "Where is he?" she asked. "We would really like to meet our grandson." I took a slow sip of my coffee before answering. "You mean the baby you threw me out for?" The words landed heavier than I expected. Both of them shifted uncomfortably in their seats. My father avoided my eyes. My mother looked down at her hands. We made mistakes," she said quietly, "but we want to fix things now." For a moment, I simply watched them. The same people who had shut the door on a terrified 16-year-old girl. Now, they were asking for a place in a life they had abandoned. Finally, I spoke. "There is no grandson." Both of their heads lifted at the same time. Confusion spread across their faces. "What do you mean?" my father asked. I held his gaze. "I lost the baby 2 months after you kicked me out." The table went completely silent. The kind of silence that makes every second feel longer than it should. My mother's eyes filled with tears almost instantly. My father stared at the table, his hands clenched together. But I didn't feel anger, just distance. I stood up slowly. "Some choices don't come with second chances," I said calmly. Neither of them tried to stop me. As I walked toward the door, I realized something strange. For years, I thought they had taken everything from me. But the truth was much simpler. They didn't lose a grandson that day. They lost a daughter. And sometimes the quietest goodbyes are the most permanent. Subscribe.